Well. If it isn't Stacking the Box live on YouTube, going to podcast in the middle of a Chiefs disaster, this is fantastic. Matt Verderame, good to see you, buddy.
Good to see you as well, Carm.
I think this is the biggest moment in the history of the show, at least from my seat, buddy. I know you've been doing this a little bit longer than me, but since Carm stepped into this role and Stacking the Box, I feel a certain sense of excitement that I have not felt in a while here.
It's good. It's good. We've got the YouTube channel up. We're going live. The show's packed. We've got Ed Reed coming on talking about all things NFL, including some very interesting comments about John Gruden. And then later today, which will be part of the audio version of the podcast, you want to hear it, we're interviewing Derrick Henry. So that's going to be a lot of fun as well.
Yeah, we're talking to Derek this afternoon, so that'll be added into the audio version. We got Ben Heisler coming up for all your gambling needs. But, Verderame, we can start at the top. This is your team. This is, right when you came out of the womb, I believe you were wearing red diapers, and you haven't really matured past that point too far. No. So how big of a Chiefs disaster is it recoverable? You're nonstop tweeting about it. Patrick Mahomes with his lowest QBR in the history of his career. People are even having Mahomes panic, which I think is completely and utterly ridiculous. But go ahead, talk people off the ledge, or talk them. Maybe we should all jump.
No, I don't think with Mahomes, there's reason to be. I wouldn't even say concerned. I would just say there's reason to have issue with the way he's played. He has made too many bad mistakes that are avoidable. It's one thing on 3rd and 10 to try to force a ball in midfield. It's not ideal, but I understand it. Some of the mistakes he's made the last few games have been on first down, like just throwing just dumb passes. But my bigger concern with him, and this has been probably the biggest issue, has been he drifts out of the pocket too much. And this has been something he's always done. So you kind of live with it. But with this specific offensive line, it's killing them because they're actually really, really good in the interior. Really good. Their tackles are solid, not great, but they can live with their tackle play if he would just step up. The problem is he's not stepping up. And when he's supposed to be dropping 7 yards, 8 yards, he's dropping 10 or 11. And it's just an Autobahn around the corner. But the bigger issue for them right now, defensively, they've been a wreck. They didn't give up any points against Tennessee in the second half, but it doesn't matter after they gave up 27 in the first half. They can't get pressure. I actually think their secondary is playing much better, but they get no pass rush, and it's killing them. Now, how cooked are they? I'm not going to sit here and say they're cooked, but Patrick Allen asked me on the Arrowhead Ag podcast, do we think they're going to make the playoffs? Right now, the answer is no. They can't do anything. I'm not sitting here saying that they can't make the playoffs. Listen, they're talented enough that it wouldn't shock me if they turned around and just ran the table. But what my eyes tell me is it's a very flawed team in the pass rush, which is killing this defense. And offensively, they're just completely out of sorts. Mahomes is in his own head. The play calling has been awful. And they're going to play. Look, they get the Giants on Monday night. They should win that game. After that, it's the Packers, the Raiders on the road, and Dallas. Like, I don't know if they're going to win any of those games. They can't execute, and it's killing them right now.
Who's betting on Chris Jones and Frank Clark coming to play at a level that they have not played all year long? I would say the answer to that is no one.
You got to move Jones inside. Like, Jones, I think, is more of a – and by the way, there were some plays in that game against Tennessee where they just laid down. I mean, laid down. And you see Brady checks in. Yeah, Frank Clark stinks, okay? He has 7 tackles this year. You want to know where that ranks in the NFL right now? 524th. He stinks. They should nail him to the bench and be done with it and play Mike Dana. I'm not the biggest Alex Okafor guy. Play him. He's better than Frank Clark is. But Jones, I believe, if they put inside, would be fine. I don't think they'd have an issue there. But there are too many plays in that game, and Jones had one of them, by the way, where they just watch a guy go by. They can make the tackle, but they don't. Mike Hughes with the biggest big business decision in the world on a blitz, or he could have tackled Derrick Henry from behind, or at least gotten his hands on him. He slowed him down. He literally just stops. Nobody touched him. He just stopped. So, listen, do I think they beat the Giants this weekend? Yeah, they will, because they're just so much superior, so superiorly talented. They'll win the game. They don't, then it's DEFCON 1, right? But against anybody who's good luck, guys.
For the record, I've been betting Kansas City correctly all year. I've had them, and then this week I faded them beautifully against the Titans. Very proud of at the Carm. Ben Heisler coming up for all your betting needs in a little bit here. One last question on the Chiefs here. Bottom line, did they do it wrong? Let's talk about Brett Veach. You go back to 2020, first round draft pick. Hey, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, come on down. Then they trade their 2021 first round pick for Orlando Brown. Then they go on, they sign Joe Thuney. Like they have continued to invest in the offense, trying to make their strength the biggest strength versus not leaning in as much on the defense. Have they blown it?
Well, actually, not that I hate that term, but actually, their defense is the second highest paid defense in football. They invest a ton of money in their defense. Here's the problem. Frank Clark, when they got him, had a year in 2019 where he was hurt early in the year. Later in the year was great. And in the playoffs was Lawrence Taylor. He had 5 sacks. I will always be of the opinion they would not have won the Super Bowl without him. He was spectacular. And I think he was a tone setter for them. Since then, he was mediocre at best last year, and he is just a hood ornament this year. I mean, a hood ornament. If they cut him tomorrow, I honestly do not think he'd get meaningful snaps anywhere. I really don't. I don't think he would get signed. I don't think he'd get a meaningful snap anywhere in the league, including on a bad team. I think if you're looking at Brett Veach, since you asked me specifically about him, I think that they're a team that Veach has largely done a very good job with. Their offensive line was in shambles last year. Thuney has been excellent. They drafted 2 stars on the interior this year who have already been great players. I think he's done a really nice job. The Orlando Brown thing, look, there seems to be this thought process in Kansas City that Orlando Brown hasn't been good. Orlando Brown's been fine. He didn't play well on Sunday, but nobody did. My biggest issue, if there is any with Veach, look, the Edwards-Helaire pick was a luxury pick that, in fairness, I didn't have a problem with at the time. Looking back, you could say, well, was that the best use of resources? I don't know. Probably not. And the Clark contract has become odorous. But again, I don't know if you win the Super Bowl without him. So I do not think Brett Veach is the problem with this team. I think it has been a combination of they can't stop turning the ball over, which is a player problem. They're scheming offensively. I mean, Carm, you know this as well as I do. Every week, you're going to see a team. They're going to play you a certain way. You're usually guessing. The Chiefs know how teams are going to play them every single week and make no adjustments to deal with it. That's a coaching problem. Like, that is an Andy Reid problem. Andy's not done a good job since the Super Bowl. And I'm not going to sit here and equate it to what happened with his son. I know that's a convenient timeline thing. I'm not going there. I'm just saying the Super Bowl is a disastrous game plan. They made no adjustments behind 5 backup offensive linemen. And then this year, there's just no adjustments ever. It's the same thing every week. And if it doesn't work, everybody just seems to throw their hands up. So they've got issues. There's no way around it. Can they fix them? Yes. Although I don't think the pass rush can be fixed. The rest of it, I think, can be. Will they? I don't know. We're almost halfway through the year and nothing's gotten better yet.
Just for the record, I am taking the Chiefs to be in the playoffs. I have a very hard time listening to you and or anybody else talk about Patrick Mahomes in a negative way after all the roses that have been properly dropped at his feet for the last couple of years. So, listen, I get it. This is not the Kansas City team that won the Super Bowl or even close to it, but I still think they'll be in the playoffs. So, just I understand that we a lot of times we're prisoner of the moment. Which, speaking of, let's move to the Bengals. All right, because Cincinnati putting up 41 on the Ravens. I mean, this is a Bengals team that. I mean, let's rewind a second here. They were at the bottom of the division, and now they're at the top. And a lot of people think they're the best team in the North. Joe Burrow's getting all sorts of love, which he deserves. The Cincinnati defense is there too. Are you willing, Matt Verderame, to say, you know what, this is a Bengals team that I didn't see coming, but right now I'm willing to be, yeah, Cincinnati, let's go. Bengals all the way, baby. At least a division champ and a playoff team.
I think they're definitely a playoff team. And I got to tell you, I think the Bengals are really a genuinely good football team. And not because of the reason everybody thinks, right? Everybody goes, well, Burrow and Jamar Chase. And Jamar Chase has been unbelievable. And Burrow certainly is playing very well. Good for him after that horrific knee injury last year.
Reminder,
their defense is good, man.
Yeah, just a reminder quickly, Bengals fans were booing Jamar Chase with drops in the preseason, and now look where he's at. But keep going. Thank you.
By the way, the Chiefs defense also looked like the steel curtain in the preseason. It goes to show the preseason means nothing. Okay. He's been great. 201 receiving yards on Sunday against Baltimore, a touchdown. Look, the Bengals can score some points, but nobody's talking about their defense. Their defense is good, man. Like, they sacked Lamar 5 times in that game. They were all over him. And that's a unit that lost William Jackson this offseason, lost Carl Lawson. A lot of people thought that was a huge departure. They brought in Trey Frederickson, who had a great year in New Orleans, but many thought one-year wonder. Can he repeat it? Yeah, he can. Played really well. The Bengals have done a really nice job. Zach Taylor, and I admit, personal favorite, interviewed him at Super Bowl a few years ago and had a great conversation with him. Happy for his success. They're playing great. And I do honestly think, like, this is, at this juncture, a team that you got to look at and say, could they win the division? Yeah. And they're 5-2. Look, Baltimore's 5-2. Baltimore's been weird, though, man. Like, you could easily make a case they should be 2-5. So I think you got to look at it and say, yeah, they're pretty damn good. They've played 2 divisional games, both on the road. They earholed Pittsburgh, and they crushed Baltimore. So I'm looking at them going, they already played the Packers on their schedule, right? Like, that game's already in the bag. Minnesota already played them. They still, in fact, they're done with that whole division. So now it's a lot of, can you beat Cleveland? I think they can. Can you beat Pittsburgh at home? Yeah. Can you beat Baltimore at home? Well, you just killed them on the road. So, yeah, you can. You get Kansas City at home later in the year, which I got to tell you, the way that game's going, I mean, it's not an easy game, but it's certainly winnable. They all of a sudden, they still have to play the whole AFC West, right? That is going to be a challenge. Chargers are a quality team. Chiefs, even with their issues, are a tough team. The Raiders are playing really well. Denver's terrible. They should roll Denver, although that is in Denver. I like them, Carm. I think they're going to win, 10, 11 games. I really do.
I love people liking the Bengals. I love when I like the Bengals. First of all, one of the greatest helmets in the history of the NFL. I think very fondly about the Sam Wyche Bengals. And just for a little history on Cincinnati, who, by the way, gets the Jets on Sunday, so they should win number 6 should be easy. But then that Browns game, they have not swept Cleveland in the home and home here since 2015. That would be a hell of a statement, and the Browns are in a very interesting part of their Baker Mayfield, whatever you want to call it. Pay him, don't pay him. We're winning games without him. And how long do you keep him out? Little moment for Cleveland right now.
Speaking of Cincinnati history, fun little diversion here for a second. Do you know the last year they won a playoff game? And if you do know that, do you know who they beat? Who the quarterback was they beat in the game?
Wait, okay, give me it one more time. Let me think deep and hard. Go ahead, one more time.
Sure. What was which year was the last time they won a playoff game? If I could get that out of my mouth.
Okay.
When they last won a playoff game, and who is the quarterback they beat in the game?
Oh, wow. Okay. Let's see here. So, well, it wasn't Andy Dalton.
Oh God, no.
So, I mean, do I have to go all the way back to Boomer?
Yeah,
I do.
Yeah.
And who did they beat? Who did Boomer beat? I don't know. I'll take a stab. They beat the Jets. I'll go with the Jets.
They last won a playoff game in 1990. It's the longest drought in the NFL. They beat the Houston Oilers, who no longer exist as they currently are. And Cody Carlson was the quarterback in the game.
All right. I mean, I think my answer is I feel somewhat okay with how I responded to Verderame trivia in the moment. But reminder, back at you, Verderame. Can you tell me what the Bengals record was the last 2 years? Can you do that off the top of your head?
The one year when they got Burrow, that year they went 2-14, and then last year 5-11.
You're one off.
4-12.
4. Yeah.
They've been brutal. They've been awful. Yeah.
And so I just like, hey, Cincinnati, you've come a long way. Congratulations.
You're relevant. You matter.
You're in the national conversation. Good for you. Congratulations. So who are you picking to win the North?
Preseason, I picked Cleveland. Not feeling great about that. Right now, I can't. I'm taking the Bengals. How could you take them? How could you take Baltimore over them right now? The Bengals just destroyed Baltimore in their building.
You can. That was a weird game, and the score was not really indicative to exactly how close it was. And you can say Ravens.
Look, I'll
you are
put it this
allowed.
way.
You are allowed.
I think the Ravens are the bigger threat to go deep in the playoffs. But because the Bengals have a last place schedule, because the Bengals already won in Baltimore, and Baltimore's got a million injuries. Like, I just wonder over the course of the year, does that catch up with them? But I will say right here and now, I also think this is the kind of thing where I might change my mind 5 times. Like, I think both teams will be in the mix. And I wouldn't be shocked, by the way, if Mayfield comes back and they can actually get him healthy, maybe even they're in the mix.
Does Fanside have the technology to put a Bengals helmet right on the top of your head, or even just a nice hat, like a Cincy hat?
I doubt it, but hold on, can I do this? Yeah, I got Bengals pennant. Look at that from the original year, baby, right there.
There we go. Okay, Cincinnati, we got you.
They're represented. All the AFL pennants, baby. They're all up there.
Let's move along here to a man who did not expect to be getting this much attention. His name is Byron Kennedy.
Yeah.
And good old Byron was sitting there in the end zone enjoying himself. The Bucks and the Bears, which was not enjoyable at all for any of us Chicago people over here, which we'll get to Matt Nagy in a second. Here we got some good stuff on Matt Nagy from Bears fans, or I don't know, slightly uncomfortable stuff, but I think it'll play well. Yeah, Mike Evans hands you the football. You didn't know. That's on you, I guess, that was touchdown pass number 600 for Tom Brady. They come back. They want the football. He ends up giving it back. And this gentleman, did you see what he got from Brady, Evans, and the Buccaneers, Verderame?
I did, but read it off for the crowd.
Okay, it is a very impressive. He was provided a pair of season tickets for the remainder of this year and 22. He got a $1,000 credit to the official team store. He also got 2 signed Tom Brady jerseys. He got a helmet. He got another jersey autographed by Evans, and he got Evans' game-worn cleats, which sounds like a lot until you realize that football in the memorabilia market, where Matt Verderame loves to spend time buying baseball cards that'll never be worth anything,
also probably true,
worth well into 6 figures. Well into 6 figures, that one-of-a-kind number 600 football. So did the fan do the right thing here? Did it actually not really belong to him, and he got in the luck of being there, he actually made out well? Or should he have grabbed that football, walked out of the stadium?
So morally,
sure,
to make the argument that he should give the ball back, right? Like, it's a big milestone. He did nothing to achieve it. But I'll tell you right now, if that was me, I would have bargained with them like nobody's business. I think I would have given them the ball back, but I would have asked for way more than that.
What would you have asked for?
Well, if I'm a Bucs fan, I would have. The starting point would have been lifetime season tickets, sideline passes, the whole deal, right? Like every bell was, maybe even a box. Like honestly, like maybe even a box. I would have asked for $250,000, and I would have asked for a crap ton of memorabilia. And by the way, if they say no, fine. Then I would have gone to Sotheby's and sold it for $600,000. And if Brady wants it so bad, let's be real. For him, that's like spending $10. So I think the guy did the right thing morally. But I gotta tell you, man, if you're somebody with a family to feed, you'd like to retire at some point in your life, and you're given that gift, well, Tom Brady's got enough crap, okay? Like, I do believe the ball belongs to him. And I honestly, if I had the ball, I would want him to have the ball. I would. But not more than, hey, I can take care of my family and get $500,000 for this thing. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Like, I'm going to take care of my family. And Tom Brady's okay. He's fine. His 7 Super Bowl rings and his supermodel wife and all the rest of it. Like, I think Tom Brady would have survived. That is 600th NFL touchdown pass football.
Yeah, he would have survived. And I don't know if it's worth quite the dollar figures you're throwing out there, but maybe
somebody absolutely do that, man. An auction. Oh, God.
Well, maybe it's worth that much to Brady. But by the way, if you want to weigh in on the chat, what exactly you would have asked for from the Bucs for if the football was handed to you, and is Verderame going too far? Like, I feel like you're going a little down the old road here. But I love I want season tickets for life. Yeah,
of course.
Let me get a 10-year pass for Bucs football. when they actually go back to being the Tampa Bay Bucs again when Brady leaves. Do you know, by the way, that he's got 59 touchdown passes in a Tampa uniform, which would place him 7th all time on the Chicago Bears? Just for the record, ahead of Jim Harbaugh. Well, here, hey Byron, you did I guess, quote unquote. People are saying it's the right thing. I even have a problem with saying it's the right thing because I don't think there is right or wrong here. But you didn't know. I am interested if he had known exactly what it was worth. If he had been a connoisseur of memorabilia, a Zach Hempel type, if you will, who catches baseballs all over MLB. I mean, would he have done the same thing? Because if you knew what it was worth, I think you're walking out of there.
You should know that it's worth a lot when the team immediately is like, we need that. I mean, no, you don't. It's mine. And here's my phone number. I'm going home with it. I'm going to see what he really, in all seriousness, and this is all easy to say now. Like, I'm not blaming the guy for not doing this. What he should have done in hindsight was say, here's my phone number. Give me your point of contact. Give me a little sticker or something that certifies that this is the football. Because if I walk out of here, you could always say, well, it's not really the football. How do we know it's football? Give me a sticker. There's always, my understanding, I know there is in baseball, that probably is in the NFL too. There's usually someone who's around, who's certified by the NFL, who can do that at every game. I'd be like, look, give me the sticker, okay? I'm going to go home. I'm going to get this ball appraised, and whatever that appraisal comes at, that's what you're paying me, plus season tickets for life. I mean, they're the NFL football team.
I got it. Yes, they can afford it. All right. Well,
let's move on. But that's how I feel.
Good on you, Tom Brady. You got your football back, and you can put it on the Brady mantle. All right. So
throw it in a suitcase, never look at it again.
Right. So Matt Nagy, your Chicago Bears head coach, who had a rough day down in Tampa. Bears lost 38-3, and it wasn't even that close. He tests positive for COVID. It comes out on Monday. And I think in the first real sign that we are at least getting close to the end of the pandemic is the comments that were on the Bears Twitter page or Twitter feed about Nagy testing positive. Here's what comes out from some Bears fans. Test positive for unemployment next. Only positive thing he's done for the team. The game plan yesterday tested positive for COVID. Can he be out for the rest of the season? This must be why the Bears couldn't this must be why the Bears couldn't smell the end zone yesterday. This is the first positive news out of the Bears locker room in weeks. Heal fast, coach, then find a new job. Tested negative for being an offensive guru. Please quarantine him. Thank you. Signed, Bears fans. I mean, just killing the guy.
Poor guy. Like, I actually do feel for him. I'm laughing because some of those people are pretty witty. But I mean, geez. The poor guy. The guy's got COVID, man. Like, you know, I get it. Well, I get it. They stink. But holy crap, the guy's got a COVID.
Well, I mean, NFL coaches have to be vaccinated. So
yes, he is vaxxed. Yes.
He should be fine. And he's
asymptomatic, I believe.
He's asymptomatic. He says he feels okay, and he's got to have 2 negative PCR tests, I guess, in a 24-hour period for him to be able to coach for the Bears when they get back at it this week against the Niners, which San Francisco looked terrible, and the Niners are still a 4-point favorite at Soldier Field. The Bears are not firing Matt Nagy during the season. They're not going to do that. It's something they've never done, but I don't know if fan sentiment will have any impact here, but it has gone so south for Nagy in Chicago. It's unbelievable.
Well, they're non-competitive offensively. They're just not competitive. Now, I got to say, I'm not taking up for Nagy here, okay? And I actually have defended him in the past. This isn't defensible this year. This is insane. Justin Fields, maybe there's a reason they were going to keep him on the bench. And I'll eat my play the crow with that. Because I was always like, get him out there, get him out there, get him out there. You watch him, you see the talent. He's been not good. Like, I get it. Like, some of the picks not on him, whatever. The guy's QBR yesterday or on Sunday was like 1. I mean, it's a lot of circumstances around him. I get that, but he's not played well. I mean, he has not been good.
The Bears' offensive line is terrible. The Bears' playmakers aren't great. Allen Robinson, who was fantastic. Seems checked out.
They trade him, by the way.
It would make sense to me. And trading Jimmy Graham would make sense. Why he was ever brought back was completely ridiculous. Literally,
Nobody's trade for him.
Well, right. But I mean, Joe Flacco just got a conditional 6.
Actually, call the Jets up.
Yeah, I
got to take a quick minute on that. That is the dumbest. The next person who tells me that Joe Douglas is a great general manager, I'm jumping out a window. Okay, you just traded a conditional 5th-round pick for a quarterback who sucks, and the rationale is, well, he knows the system. No, he doesn't. You have a new offensive coordinator, new head coach.
Even then, you're not winning anything. Right. What are you doing?
Right. Even if he knows the system and he's a savant in it, who the hell cares? You're 1-5. You stink. And I'd like to take my bow here for a minute. I don't like to do this often, but this is one time Verderame got it right. The week before the season, when everybody was kissing Zach Wilson's feet, I wrote on Stacking the Box, the column, goes up every Monday on Fansided. I wrote, the Jets are screwed because they put this kid with a defensive first-time head coach, a young first-time offensive coordinator. They have no experience behind them. Nobody's ever thrown an NFL pass. This is a disaster in the making. And sure as you know what, he's been terrible. They have no ability to adjust. They have no experience as backup. And look at that, he gets hurt. And they go out and they spend a 5th-round pick on friggin' Joe Flacco. And for people who say, well, by the way, it's just a 5th-round pick, who cares? You're the Jets. You need every pick you have, and it might end up being a top 150 pick. I mean, what a bunch of clowns that franchise is. You're 1-5. Play me before you give up a 5th-round pick. What are you doing, Joe Douglas? What an idiotic move.
I agree with all of it. I'm like, whoa, they gave up it's a 6th, and if he plays a bunch and he plays well, I guess
right,
he can turn into a 5th.
Fit.
And he was terrible for the Jets last year, by the way. It's not like he was winning football games for him. Which again, like, why are you trying to win football games? And the other side is like, I'm sitting there like, from a Bears fan standpoint, really? You gave up a 6 for Joe Flacco? How about taking Nick Foles off the Bears' hands? We'll give you'll have Foles for a 7th. I'll take a 7th and a conditional 6th. Well, if you're willing to pay for that, I'll here. You can have Foles for less. The Bears should be trading Nick Foles to somebody, but at any rate, all right. Yeah, that was. But will the Bears make any moves at the deadline? I judging by what Ryan Pace does, the answer is no. What Pace does is trade up in the draft for people who can't play, i.e. Mitchell Trubisky, i.e. Tevin Jenkins, who can't get on the field. Which is another thing in Chicago, by the way.
House cleaning.
Yeah, it's not. Everybody can point to the head coach, which is a very, very popular refrain by Bears fans. Right, the roster smells atrocious.
They need to, and I don't care if they do it now or after. It doesn't matter. They need to fire everyone. Like, this idea that like they can just wait it out is insane. Like
but that's the other part of it too. Who is going to be hiring the next regime? Like, worst organizations in the NFL: Bears, Jets. Who else is it? Lions. Okay. I mean,
Bengals but they've resurrected.
I mean, Cincinnati. You're certainly in the team photo. I would say the Jags, but not really.
Oh, definitely them. And Washington cannot escape this.
Washington is maybe even at the top.
Washington might be the president of the club, but
so that's the thing. Like, and I get it. You're for fans of bad organizations. You're not leaving, but like to have optimism that something's going to change just because there's a coaching and even regime change, GM. It's like a needle in a haystack. Lucky for it to happen.
My quick 2 cents. I would call Detroit at the end of the season, and I would ask permission to hire John Dorsey. That's what hire. Because let me tell you right now.
Yeah, you're a big Dorsey guy.
You go back and listen. I would bring in a financial guy with Dorsey because he's not great with the contract part of it. Nobody knows talent like John Dorsey. Brett Veach deserves a lot of credit because he helped with that Super Bowl team, no doubt, right? But John Dorsey drafted a ton of those guys. And then he went to Cleveland, and that team was an 0-16 team and immediately was back in playoff contention. Like that, he knows what he's doing. That guy, do whatever you want. Like I would hire him, and then I'd go call Eric Bieniemy. That would be, I would rate, and I know some Bears fans might go, oh God, not another Kansas City assistant. Bieniemy's a different deal. I would absolutely go make that move.
And then I would go hire Ed Reed as my defensive coordinator, damn it. Which, by the way, we're not going to stream that video, but if you listen to the audio version of the podcast, you can get our interview with Ed. And I think it'll probably be available on YouTube as well. Ed Reed is awesome. Super Bowl champion, Hall of Famer, all of it.
Yep,
hanging out in Miami. He may be a coach for the Canes or not, but he's got some interesting stuff to say about John Gruden amongst everything else that Ed Reed's weighing in on. So good stuff there. But let's get to our gambling segment from BetSided, one of the superstars in the betting world, manager at BetSided, and of course go to WinBet for all your gambling needs. Ben Heisler, welcome in to Stacking the Box. There he is, the always on top of it. Don't mess with him, Ben Heisler. Good morning, good afternoon, Ben.
What's up, Carm? What's up, Verderame? I feel like this is like the Wizard of Oz behind me for anybody that's tuning in on the video stream. Normally I got this beautiful green screen behind me, nice little desk set up, and now it's just green. So like I feel like everyone is kind of just seeing me for who I truly am, which is just a guy.
You're not just a guy. I'm not going to allow you to say that. Are you hearing Ben faintly like I am, Verderame, or how?
I am. I hear him, but it's at like 25% capacity, maybe.
We're at a 25% Heisler, which is I like the mic move in the middle of the situation. Now that's the wrong way. So that made it worse.
Are you getting further away from the microphone, Heisler?
I don't, This could be we could have our first technical difficulty in the history of live Stacking the Box, which
these things happen.
This is
when you go live, you risk disasters like this. The Hindenburg, Titanic, now Heisler.
If I could retweet this right now, Michael Zach on the chat here. Let me know what to do here with Heisler, because I'd like to keep it going. But it looks at Ben, I am getting word from upper management that we're going to have to skip you at this moment. We may come back to you.
If we can get back to you. If not, it's been real.
Please work with Fansided Central on acquiring a better connection, and we'll see if we can bring you back. I will be paying attention. But Ben, great job. Back to you,
Heisler really earning his salary.
I mean, that was big. Well, you know what? We're hoping to have Ben back in 5, which gives us time, Verderame, to go into our Into the Future segment, which gets us to Deshaun Watson. And okay, look, Miami's been rumored about Deshaun Watson for a long time here. Carolina's sniffing around. The trade deadline is coming. First off, do you expect him to get moved? Let's start there.
You know, I haven't the entire time, but I now think from all the smoke, it seems like it's going to happen. My belief has always been you just cannot trade for a guy with 22 civil suits, right? For alleged sexual assault like that. I feel like that has been a reasonable take. And yet NFL teams are like, no, don't worry about it. We're not going to worry. We're ready to party. Maybe 3 first-round picks plus for Watson. I don't know how you do this. What is the press conference going to be like? Hey, welcome to X. So how are we feeling about 22 civils? What is this? Because I'm not going to talk about that. I mean, okay, maybe you won't. Everybody else is going to. But yes, it seems as though he's going to get moved, which is just, if they get 3 first-round picks for him, that is mind-blowing to me. But it's the NFL, and talent wins out. And when he's on the field, everything else aside, he's a top 5 talent at the position.
I mean, look, it seems like Miami is willing at bare minimum to trade Tua to the Texans along with.
God, yeah.
Right. I get it. Listen, I said from the moment he stepped in the league I did not like the throwing motion on Tua. I did not think it was going to work out. He did have 4 touchdown passes this week for the record, but it's just amazing to me that the Dolphins are worried that they're bidding against themselves. The Texans are trying to create this market, getting Carolina, whoever else involved. How are the it's kind of like NFL, the audacity that let's create a market for this guy, and whatever, time heals all controversies. Like, if you're a fan of the Dolphins, are you sitting there like, go get Deshaun Watson? I don't know how that just, it feels beyond off, right?
I don't understand. If you're the Dolphins, right? Like, you have one win this year. Okay, so now what is the answer here? Like, all right, we're going to bring in Deshaun Watson. You're clearly not good. Like, last year, maybe looking more and more like a mirage. It's not as though, like, I don't think there's any situation where I'm looking to bring in a guy who's being alleged to essentially have groped almost 24 women here. Like, and I get it, it's all alleged, but it's a lot of alleging. Like, I'm not gonna say he's guilty, but 22 civil suits, Carm. Like, I'm not getting comfortable with that, and I'm certainly not getting comfortable with it if it's not like, oh, I'm gonna win a Super Bowl. I mean, and look, I get it. You could say, well, that's still gross, and it is gross, but it's the NFL, and that's reality. And winning trumps all. It just does. That's the way the sport is. That being said, Carl, I mean, honestly, if you're the Dolphins, like, what are you with him? A 7-win team? Like, I don't know. It's crazy to me.
Well, hold on. On the football side of it, I get it completely. Like, you're getting an elite quarterback, and that's, where do you want to start in the league? So I get the football side of it, but
man, even the football side of it, like,
if you're the Dolphins right now and you can get out from Tua and get Deshaun and give up a couple of draft picks,
that.
Yeah, go ahead.
My point is, though, they're not close, and you're giving up a million picks, man. What are they building around them with? With what?
That's okay, fine, but
I'm not saying from a football standpoint I wouldn't do it, but when you factor in all those picks, and then, oh, by the way, he's got a million things going on off the field that are pretty heinous, allegedly heinous. Like, yes, you're right. From just a football standpoint, yeah, you make the move 10 times out of 10. But when you factor in everything that comes along with it, I would not do it. I wouldn't. It tells me about who the person allegedly is. And it tells me that, like, I don't know if I can rely on this guy. That's a big contract you're taking on, man. Like, what if this thing goes completely off the rails? If they were trading a couple of thirds for him, it's different. It's still ugly, but it's different. You're giving up a ton. You better hope you're right, because if you're not, like, that sets you back 10 years.
We're going to get to Ben Heisler. I think we have our technical team has reassessed Ben. But we'll see him after one quick more topic here in our Into the Future. Then we'll get to Ben. Cardinals 7-0, taking on a Packers team dealing with COVID this week. Are they the best team in the NFL right now?
Right now they are. They're second in points. I believe they're third in points against, which is impressive considering there's a lot of teams that have had buys. The Cardinals haven't, and they still get up fewer points. They've been great. And you can point to, well, they've beaten Houston, they beat Jacksonville, they got lucky against Minnesota. Okay, fine. And look, they killed Tennessee. Killed them. Okay? They destroyed the Rams, who have killed everybody else they've played this year. They killed the Rams. I think you've got to give the Cardinals their due. They're really good. Now, would I trust them as much as I would trust Tampa in a playoff game, as I would trust maybe even the Rams in a playoff game? I don't know, right? The Packers. Because they've never been there with this group. But they're 7-0, and the numbers are like legit 7-0 numbers. It's not like somebody, you know how every once in a while you get a team that's like 5-6-0, you're like, that team's not even good. This is not that. This team's really good. I do wonder about them in the playoffs because there's just not a lot of experience, and I'm not sold on Kingsbury. But they've been really damn good. Like, I'm sold on them as being an elite contender.
I have no problem with it, but I do want to underline one team that I have wrongly, moronically, I could throw a lot of other adjectives in there, but like I've been fading Tampa since Brady got there.
And you've been wrong for a long time.
I've been wrong forever, and they're better this year. They're better. They're better than they were last. I mean, it's unbelievable. He
might be the MVP of the league.
it's incredible what's going on down there. So
leading in passing yardage, leading in touchdowns, and it's thrown 3 picks. He's 44 years old.
It's insanity. You're leading the league in passing yards at 44 years old. How is this possible? And I get that he's got a bunch of talent around him, but come on, man, it's just it's incredible.
You could argue, honestly, he's better now than it was 15 years ago.
I just it's
insane.
I mean, it's
insane.
Right, and to the point of the Cardinals, it's like, do I believe more in the Bucs or the Cardinals? I believe more in the Bucs right now. But in Arizona,
I do too. They're number one in my rankings. I got the Bucs 1, the Cardinals 2.
I mean, it's impressive. All right, let's do it. Ben Heisler, one more time. Part 2 is always better than the first time. Ben, good to see you, buddy.
What's going on, gentlemen?
Hey,
it's coming in. It's loud. It's clear. It's sensational.
It's like jumping into the ocean after a long day in the sun. Just the beautiful freshness of Ben. And now I'm hearing myself back in my ears, which is not great. Okay, Ben, let's make some money here. BetSided is where you should go for all your gambling content. WinBet for all your gambling needs. We're actually doing some over-under action today instead of actual point spreads because it's interesting where teams are coming in at for the rest of the season. And we are starting with the team that many thought was going to go 17-0. That didn't happen. Now we're wondering if they're a playoff team. Of course, it's Kansas City, 3-4. The over-under right now on the Chiefs for the season is 9.5. Ben, do you believe in Kansas City? Where are we at here? Over-under on 9.5 for the Chiefs.
I believe in them to get above 9.5. I think that's still very much in play. I know that the sky is falling collectively across Kansas City, where I'm currently residing, and there's still plenty of time to get a lot of this sorted around, at least on the offensive side of the ball. Because remember, this defense was probably close to this bad the year that they went to the AFC Championship game, ended up losing to the Patriots in overtime. So watching the offense be dynamic and the defense be pretty atrocious at the same time isn't new for anybody that's watched this Kansas City team under Patrick Mahomes. But they've lost a couple home games this year to the Chargers. That was a closer game. Ended up losing that game because of a fumble to Baltimore on the road. And then, of course, you had that bad home loss against Buffalo. But the competition coming into Kansas City is some good teams in Green Bay and Dallas, but you still give Kansas City an opportunity to win at home at Arrowhead. It wouldn't surprise anybody, I don't think, if they beat Green Bay and beat Dallas at home. They also have Pittsburgh coming in at home. Probably their toughest road game left is on the road against Cincinnati, and I don't think it would surprise anybody if they won that game as well. I think you close out the rest of the year on a fairly strong level for Kansas City. They will make improvements, I think, at some point on the defensive side of the ball. The pass rush will eventually get going, and Mahomes is going to turn this around. Sample size indicates that he's much better than what we've seen from him, and his wide receivers continue to drop passes. All these things are going to change. It's not going to make him a 13-win team like we might have expected at the beginning of the year, but they're going to get 10 wins.
So maybe I'm just the emotional person in the room. I am to the point with them. I almost feel compelled to just go under. They can't do anything. They turn the ball over. They make up for it by playing atrocious defense. They can't seem to coach their way out of a paper bag. Like, it is just, you got Frank Clark down 27-3, and he's yucking it up, laughing on the sideline with a minute to go in the game. I mean, it's so bad. And I look at the schedule and go, all right, I think they will beat Denver twice. I just don't think Denver can compete with them.
No,
I think they will beat the Giants. I think they will beat Pittsburgh at home. That gets them to 8. And I do think they will beat the Raiders at home. That gets you to 9. Now, the question becomes, can they beat Dallas? Can they beat the Packers? Both are at home. They play the Raiders on a Sunday night, and then they on the road, and then they play Cincinnati. Here's the problem. They play the Giants this weekend. I think they win. They get the 4-4. Then it's Green Bay at the Raiders, home to Dallas. They could be 4-7. Like, they can't stop anyone. And I look at those three teams and think literally they might average giving up 40 points a game. Like, I don't know they're going to get off the field. So I will go under. I think they're an 8 or 9 win team. I think they are going to struggle right to the end to make the playoffs. I hope I'm wrong. I hope they turn around. Based off what I've seen, they've been awful.
Well, the other thing too, Verderame, is that they still have those division games. And if you're going to trust any coaching staff to turn it around against the division, it's Andy Reid. First the AFC West since 2015. He's 31-6. And they started the year 31-5 up until that loss against the Chargers. So if there is a saving grace for Kansas City, it's competition that Andy Reid knows, that he's comfortable with. It can turn it around against them.
All right, let's go to the Colts team. 8.5 for Indy. Back-to-back wins. Haven't beaten anybody, but did it in impressive fashion. Beating Houston at home in a blowout. And yeah, it was raining on Sunday night, but they took care of San Francisco, and Garoppolo had his worst game of the year. It does get a little tougher this week with Tennessee, but 8.5 for the 3-4 Colts. Ben.
I like them to go over too. I really liked the Colts at the beginning of the year and had a lot of egg on my face at the beginning of the season when they started off on a pretty atrocious level. But I think we can all agree that to a certain extent, Carson Wentz has been fixed by Frank Reich. And that was the goal coming into this season, was can you get Carson Wentz back into being an upper tier quarterback in the league? He's not the top tier, but he is leading the NFL in completed yards above 20. He is leading the NFL in touchdown to interception ratio. That was a key issue for him his last several years for the Philadelphia Eagles. So they now have a quarterback who is finally also starting to get healthy. And they're also incorporating Jonathan Taylor into being what I consider to be a top 3 rusher in the NFL. And remarkably, too, they're doing this without really a whole lot to throw to. It's Michael Pittman Jr., and that's pretty much it. Mo Alley Cox is a nice athlete in the middle of the field, but he's not a go-to target for them. So they've lost Paris Campbell, again, likely for the season due to injury. T.Y. Hilton has played, I think, 1 game this year. The Colts are going to start to get more and more healthy. The offensive line, when they're healthy, is amongst the best in the league. If we're talking about this game against Tennessee, I know everybody's very much on the Tennessee bandwagon, but how come they're only 1-point favorites on the road against Indianapolis this week after what we saw the Titans do to Buffalo and then to Kansas City? I think the odds makers are telling us something, that the Colts are actually a team that is still very much in contention. And for that reason, I'd like them to get over that 8.5 number.
I think they get over it as well. Look, they barely lost to the Rams. They barely lost to Baltimore. They should have won the Baltimore game. They blew that game. So they need 6 wins to get over this number. They've got Jacksonville twice, okay, including Week 18, when Jacksonville could not lay down any more in that game. I mean, my God. You've got so after the Titans, they play the Jets and the Jags back-to-back. Like that at home. Those are 2 wins. Then they get Bills and Bucks. Those are probably 2 losses. The Texans, then a Week 14 bye, which is something. Then a home to the Pats, at the Cardinals, home to the Raiders, at Jacksonville. I think there's 6 wins in there. I think you beat Jacksonville twice. You beat Houston. I think they beat the Pats off a bye at home. The Jets, and then either the Raiders or the Titans. I think they're going to win. I don't think they go way over, but I think they get to 9 wins.
A lot of Indy love on the show here, and I appreciate it because I think the Colts are going over as well. Green Bay is 6-1. They might as well just give them the North title right now because we all knew that was going to happen. The number for the Packers is a big one, 12.5. They got the Cardinals this week with all COVID, and you got the Chiefs coming up. Only get to play the Bears one more time. The Browns are on that schedule. Ben, are you willing to say it's a 13-win Green Bay team?
No, because the Packers, for the fact that they still have Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams and Aaron Jones and a pretty solid pass rush, they're still a very flawed team. And they go into Arizona now likely without Devontae Adams. You've seen the line at WinBet move up from Packers +3 to +6 just because of the mystery of whether or not Adams is going to play. Yeah. That's a remarkable line shift, guys. A 3-point line move because their best wide receiver may not play. But I also think it's indicative of the public being all over Arizona and trying to find one reason or another just to fade Green Bay this week. I do have some concerns about their offense on third down. Their red zone efficiency has not been particularly good this year. It's not to say that it can't turn around. And anytime you have the Packers on the schedule, you assume that they can go in and win. But it is a difficult schedule. At Arizona, at Kansas City, despite what you think of the Chiefs, that's still a tough game. They have Seattle at home. We'll see whether or not Russell Wilson will be back. I don't think he will be, so that should be a win. But then you got the Rams, you got the Browns, the Ravens, and you're expecting Green Bay to basically have to go 13-4. And remember, they've already had a bad loss this year and a couple of lucky wins. I just don't think it stays that hot. They're a team that looks like a 12-5 team that easily wins the division. I think they're perfectly content with that.
Yeah, I'm going to go under. And listen, I know my good buddy Joey Mione is a Packers fan, is probably listening to this. So Joey, I think they're a Super Bowl contender for sure. But look, Look, I go under because here are the teams they've beaten this year. Detroit, San Francisco needed a last-second field goal. Pittsburgh, Cincinnati missed 2 field goals at the end of the game. Chicago, Washington. Find me the good team there. There isn't one. Now, that doesn't mean I don't think the Packers are good, but now, as you point out, Ben, the schedule going forward, at Arizona, at Kansas City, and yes, I agree with you, Kansas City is frustrating as all hell, but, like, could the Chiefs win the game? Yeah. They might be favored in it. I don't know what's going to happen there. The Seattle game, it depends, like you said, with Wilson. At Minnesota, then the Rams, a bye week. You get the Bears out of it, okay, fine. Then you're at Baltimore, which is a tough game. The Browns come in. They might be desperate. That's on Christmas. It's a tough slate, man. The rest of the way, that's hard. Even if the Packers are great, I'm gonna go under. I think they win 11 to 12 games, and they're going to be able to throttle down to because that division is awful. So I don't think they're too worried about that.
Dallas does not have a tough slate. The Cowboys are at 11.5. By the way, the Packers, by the way, just 7th in total defense. Green Bay, just to throw that out there as well with everything that's going on with the green and gold, and wondering if they could actually become a Super Bowl champion in the last dance Aaron Rodgers year, which would be, I would actually enjoy it even from a Bears seat. But okay, Dallas 11.5. Ben, you riding the Cowboys to 12 wins?
I hate to do this because I still think there's a lot of issues with the Cowboys team, but it is such a favorable schedule. Yep. They've made so many plays in the secondary. And Trayvon Diggs is looking like he's the defensive player of the year in the NFL with his ability to take the football away. Now, I know regression is coming, but I don't know where the regression is going to come on the offensive side of the ball. Dak Prescott's been incredibly efficient. They have 2 outstanding runners, both with Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard. You have a multitude of weapons in the passing game with Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb. They're going to get Michael Gallup back. Dalton Schultz, since he started, has become a top 5 tight end in the league. Like, there's just not a lot of bad pieces on the Cowboys, and they're doing this all with a dunce of a head coach in Mike McCarthy. So I think with a favorable schedule, with a lot of weapons on both sides of the ball, yeah, I think they can go over that number fairly easily. I mean, the tough games, yes, they have the Kansas City game. New Orleans on the road, that's going to be a tough matchup. I think it's either a Sunday night or a Monday night game. And then after that, maybe Arizona, and that's about it. The Cowboys should cruise, absolutely cruise. That's only going to help increase the MVP odds as well of Dak Prescott, who at one point was at plus 1,600 at WinBet. He's now all the way to plus 450. So if you were interested in getting on the Dak Prescott, either comeback player of the year train or the MVP train, that has long left the station at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm not even going to go into detail, really. Over easily. They are already, 5-1, and they have Washington, the Giants, and Washington at one point, weeks 14 through 16. So that'll be a nice 3 wins. They play the Eagles to end the year. The Cardinals, they play, but they're at home in the game. So that it's a winnable game. There's not one game on the schedule you look and go, yeah, they're probably going to lose. I mean, maybe at Arrowhead. Maybe that's just one of those games where the Chiefs just win 38-35 or something. But, I mean, you look at the rest of the schedule. Look at the Raiders on Thanksgiving at home. I think Dallas wins that game. Dallas might win 14 games. Like, real. I mean, their schedule is such a joke. I mean, even Minnesota is kind of a pivot point to Sunday night. They're in Minnesota. They win that game. Their next 2 games are the Broncos and the Falcons at home. I mean, you're just looking at and by the way, another team. They beat the Chargers in a weird game week 2. Other than that, the Eagles at home, the Panthers at home, the Giants at home, the Pats on a weird game in the road. I agree with Ben. Like, I don't look at them and think they're a great team. I think they're good, but like not a team that you normally pick to win 13 or 14 games. But the schedule and some luck has really worked out for them.
Really quickly, too, the Cowboys are the only team left in the NFL that is undefeated against the spread. So you have teams like the Cowboys and the Cardinals that are already being just supremely well against the spread for bettors this year. That luck is going to change. Dallas and both them and Arizona are going to have very inflated lines probably in the second half. So even though they might win 13, 14 games, you're probably going to want to be on the other side of a lot of these over-unders, a lot of the sides of the spreads, just because these things tend to even themselves out over time.
All right, let's go to Buffalo, who are in the middle of their bye week coming off it this Sunday with Miami. And the Bills with 4 wins, but maybe the easiest schedule in football. They have one game that stands out. That's at Tampa. That comes up in December. But Miami and Jacksonville and New York, the Colts could be a tough game. But the Saints, New England twice. You get the Jets again to wrap it up. So that number is going to be big, and it is. It's 12.5. Who's got Buffalo basically running the table here? Ben?
I don't. I still think Buffalo is an extraordinarily talented team, but I mean, they've had 2 games already where they've kind of just taken their foot off the pedal, and they find themselves with losses. That game against Pittsburgh at home, the loss against Tennessee from a couple weeks back. Yeah, I looked at Buffalo at the beginning of the year, and this was one of the ones that I clearly had wrong, guys. I thought that between Buffalo and New England and Miami, that you'd have 3 teams competing for playoff spots in the AFC East. Clearly, that's not going to be the case this year. It's one I absolutely got wrong. But I just don't see Buffalo having that killer instinct this year. They're really good, and they'll beat the hell out of plenty of teams on that schedule. But I don't think they're going to go undefeated in the division. I think there's one weird loss that might happen along the way. The game against New Orleans, that's not going to be an easy game on Thanksgiving. The rest of the schedule, Atlanta and the Jets to close things out, that's ideal. But by that point, they'll already have wrapped up a playoff spot, and they can probably rest their guys. So maybe Atlanta or the Jets are able to play their starters and get a win in those final couple of games. I just think because Buffalo basically has this division wrapped, and because they just don't have that killer instinct, they're going to get that extra loss, and it's going to come back and bite bettors in the ass.
Hey, Verderame, did you hear that stack in the box integrity by Heisler there, calling out his pick? Nobody will remember that Heisler was thinking that the AFC East was going to bang on each other, and
Well done.
But Heisler called himself out. That's why you come to stack in the box.
That's 2 thumbs right on this guy.
Right there.
That's right. Well, hey, in that spirit, I picked the Chiefs to go 15-2 this year, so things are going well. Oh my God, they might lose 2 games in 1 at the rate they're going. No, I'm under 2. I think the Bills are the best team in the AFC, but I think they're losing to Tampa. I think New England twice. Look, Belichick's a pain in the ass, man. One of those games is going to come right down to it. It just is. And New England might be fighting for a playoff spot. I'll give you another game. You mentioned Indy. I think that's a good call. That game against Atlanta, Atlanta somehow is 3-3 and kind of in the mix. Atlanta's not good, but they're also in every game they play. They're just always somehow involved. But I think they'll lose to Tampa. Between Indy, New Orleans, New England on the road. Yeah, I think it's a 12-5 season. I think that's where they finish. The AFC is bizarre, man. That is the one thing right now. If you look at the AFC, I feel like the NFC, it's Tampa, it's Dallas, it's Green Bay, it's the Rams, it's the Cardinals. The AFC, that's one thing. If you're a Chiefs fan listening to this and you want to make a good point, I wouldn't sit here and pick them to make the playoffs right now. I also would not sit here and say they couldn't go to the Super Bowl. I don't know. There's nobody in that conference where you're like, oh my God, that team is just a juggernaut. So I'll go under on the Bills. I think they win 12.
All right, we're wrapping up with the Dan Campbell emotional, which I love. Wear your heart in your sleeve in life. It's a good way to go. The Lions. The number's 2.5. They got a shot this week with the Eagles at home. Then they get their bye week, and then I'm just going to give the schedule out to you. At Pittsburgh, at Cleveland, loss. Bears on Thanksgiving, could be a win there. Minnesota at home, at Denver, another shot at it. Home with Arizona, at Atlanta, at Seattle, Green Bay. I don't know how you get to 3. I don't see it, but Ben?
I don't think you get to 3 either. I think it's more than I think it's 2. Somehow along the schedule, they'll get 2 wins. Remember, the Lions were projected to win 6 games this year at win. So the odds makers got that one wrong, just like all of us have gotten some stuff wrong along the way. And they've had a lot of close games this year. They've actually been, fairly decent against the spread over the course of the season. I think they're 4-3 over the course of the 7 weeks of the season. But I mean, I look at that game against Chicago where the Bears just remain an absolute mess, and I see no faith in Matt Nagy. The offense continues to just not move along. And I know that they beat them 24-14 back in week 4, but that was at Soldier Field when the Bears still thought that they had a chance. I don't even think Chicago was giving themselves a chance anymore. So I think that game against Thanksgiving, or on Thanksgiving against Chicago, will be the victory that the Lions need to get off the schneid. And after that, there's going to be one team that slips up along the way. Maybe it's even Green Bay in week 18 when they already have the division wrapped up and the Lions can go ahead and get their second win. But it just is not going to get to 3. 2.5 still feels a little bit too much, but they're not going to go 0-17 either.
I'm fading both you people. Over 3. And here's why. I think they win one game they shouldn't. I think they're going to beat the Bears on Thanksgiving. I really do. The Bears are hideous. And I think they will win week 18 because I don't think the Packers are going to play anybody. So that I will go with 3. In my heart, like if you said I had to bet my mortgage, I would take the under here. But because I like Dan Campbell and they're playing hard, I'm taking the over. I thought they actually played pretty well against the Rams. They hung in the game. They were there. You know what? But I will take this opportunity to say this. For the love of God, get that team and that franchise off Thanksgiving. And I'm a traditionalist. It's enough. Oh my God. Get them off Thanksgiving.
Can you imagine too, like when CBS and Fox, decides to Rochambeau for who gets the Cowboys and who has to end up with the Lions?
Oh my
Just those poor broadcasters are, I'm going to spend my Thanksgiving watching the Bears and the Lions this year. The other guys get to at least get the Raiders. It's a fun offense, and the Cowboys, one of the best teams in the league.
Yep.
Boy, if you have to start your day with the Lions and the Bears,
I think it's Fox that draws that game this week. I think it is Fox. Fox is taking. So Joe Buck and Troy Aikman, who already do Thursday Night Football and Sunday, and have no time with their family, have to go watch that garbage. I mean, son of a bitch, yank them off of Thanksgiving. Every year we have to watch this dreck. I can't remember the last time the Lions have played on Thanksgiving, and I've been like, man, awesome. Honest to God, probably not since Barry Sanders retired. There's no juice in that stadium at all. It's like playing in a morgue. It's dark. It's quiet. All those fans are self-loathing. Like at least the Silverdome, which was a hole in the middle of nowhere, at least the Silverdome, it was loud. Like this is just, there is nothing. It's like, oh God, the Lions are playing again.
They'll be loud when they get that first win of the season against the Bears. We'll see some life. Just a little bit of life.
38 of those fans at that game that aren't inebriated beyond words will be cheering.
I for one, am offended that you, Matt Verderame, an NFL traditionalist who's sitting here watching on YouTube some game from 1974, probably later today. Yes, I know the answer is yes, that you would want to take Detroit off of Thanksgiving. And I hope they're winless going into that game because that would be some good drama. And don't feel bad for Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. They've got great gigs and they're happy to do it. They don't need any sympathy from you two hardworking media folks here on Stacking the Box, just for the record. Hey, Ben, great job, brother. Managing editor, Bet-Sided. Go to WynnBET for all your betting needs, WINNBET.com. We did it a little bit different this week. Went with the over-unders. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Ben, we'll see you next week, brother.
You got it, guys.
All right, Verderame. Say goodbye to Ben. Now we get to say goodbye to you.
Good.
I have bad news for you, bud, that I haven't told you until this moment. But we were planning on going to Bulls-Knicks at the United Center Thursday night.
Yep.
And I've got some family stuff coming in. And I don't think I'm going to be able to make it at this very moment unless something changes. So I apologize greatly. I was looking forward to it. It's Joakim Noah night. Derek, easy. That's my guy. And Derrick Rose is going to be in town. I feel sick and defeated that I can't join you on Thursday night, but I think you should still go.
Well, I'm not rolling down there by myself. That's a waste of time. Also, I told you I was willing to spend $100 a ticket, and you waited forever, and now it's over $100 a ticket for any building.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
It is on secondhand stuff. I don't know. We don't have time for you to tell the story about how you got arrested once outside of an NBA Finals game. But, I'm not looking to go that route. No, listen, so let's get right down to it. I'm not too heartbroken about it. Listen, I'm going to come into Chicago for a few hours, have a few drinks, hang out, and then, and then, I don't know, at some point, get back to the old place and watch the Packers Cards. So the Knicks start out with what was a rollicking double overtime win over the Celtics. I don't know if you happen to see that game, their season opener. That game was insane. That was one of the great season openers of all time. And then they killed the Magic by like 30 points. I'm like, great. Coming in on Sunday, back-to-back with the Magic. Awful team. That team's lucky if it wins 20 games. And the Knicks lose at home to them. which was really just the cherry on top of a crap Sunday after watching the Chiefs. And so they lost. I am still pissed about that game. Now they host the Sixers tonight, Tuesday night. And then the Bulls. I'm not like the Knicks. The Knicks are a good team. I gotta say, like the Knicks. Any fear I had about them being a 1-year wonder, I don't have anymore. Even with the loss to Orlando, the Knicks just played horribly in the fourth quarter and lost the game. But I am very optimistic with this team. I don't know if they beat the Sixers. They haven't beaten the Sixers in like 3 years. Okay, so I don't know if they're going to beat them tonight. But the Fournier signing looks pretty good. Kemba's been a waste of time, although he can shoot a three. But Rose has been Derrick Rose. Barrett looks like he's about to be an All-NBA defender, which is good because he hasn't scored a point through 3 games. But I love it. Julius Randle looks like Julius Randle. No drop off there. Obi Toppin, not bad. Mitchell Robinson's looking for about 15 rebounds a game. So things are, despite the loss to the Magic, 2-1. And the Garden's going to be rocking tonight going to that game against the Sixers. They're going to want blood. And I wish Ben Simmons was playing in this game because I'll tell you, that crowd would be letting him have it the entire game. We're going to get robbed of that.
I got to tell you, as you're talking, I'm doing the StubHub check, and you are right that ticket prices are on the rise. On the rise for the, you know why? And I should have known that this was going to happen because they're just that good, I suppose. But the only undefeated team in the Eastern Conference, 4-0, your Chicago Bulls, baby. So yeah. I guess the Bulls are back. The other undefeateds in the league are the 3-0 Warriors and the 2-0 Jazz. So you can actually say best record in basketball, Chicago. Plus, they're winning by they're cracking teams, and they're going into Toronto, and DeMar DeRozan's going up against his former team and getting W's. But yeah, so that's a nice development. But let me just say this as we wrap up here, because I think what I learned from Stacking the Box today, for Bears fans who do want change, that Lions game, I haven't been thinking about it until now, but if you lose to the Lions on Thanksgiving, that I've been sleeping on this as a game changer. That officially is the biggest game left on the Bears schedule. I really think it is. You lose to Detroit, there's no way around it for George McCaskey and company. So that to me is interesting. All right. Hey, thank you so much for watching Stacking the Box today, especially those who checked it out live on YouTube as we were doing it. You listening right now in the podcast world, we love you the same. Ratings are phenomenal. And yes, watching is good too as we're trying to keep our jobs here. So no pressure. But if you watch, we get to eat. If you don't, we're in trouble.
Look at me. I need to eat.